In the previous round we got the front ones done, and now it's time to widen the rear fenders. My name is Diff, as in difficult, except I'm not. And you've ended up in my shop on a small farm down in South Africa. And hey, I just had to upgrade my sign here in celebration. Yeah, if you know, you will know. Hey, shout out to Kenny Vigneron, I hope I say that right, Corsical Tripod and Ace Adman for hitting that thanks button below the video and making a donation. It helps to keep me going down here in darkest Africa. I appreciate it, my brothers. Thank you so much. So there's been some other developments out here in the forest as well, eh? You can now actually become a member of Rat Rods for Africa. Now why would you want to do that? Well, it offers exclusive perks to members only, and it will help to support the channel. So to check it out, click on that join button below the video, and then you'll see that there are 3 different levels of membership. We've got Pit Crew, we've got Workshop Winner, and we've got Rat Rod Hero. And but depending on the level of membership that you choose, you will get exclusive perks like membership badges, priority apply to comments, regular photos and posts and updates, early access to videos, and even exclusive behind the scenes videos, members only. Yes, and all sorts of perks. So you're welcome to check it out. And now remember, it's not necessary or compulsory or anything like that. I will still be posting my regular videos. Just thought I'd let you know about it. Okay man, let's get back to doing some work on the Renault bug. So because of my little fat wheel, there's no way I can fit this fender at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the back end up, and then I might be able to bolt it on so that we can see what we need to do. Let me see if I can bolt it on the way it is now. Yes, I think that could work. I'm just going to go find some bolts. Right, let me crawl in here so I can tighten up this bolt. All because I'm too lazy to take the wheel off. So it's a bit of a struggle, but we'll get it done. Yeah, and all this squatting and crawling around is some good exercise for my weak stomach muscles. They need it. Yes, yes, I'm going to take it easy. So don't stress. Alright, I think I got it done. Should be fine. Let me get my sorry ass out of here. Right, so let's evaluate the current state of affairs. I've got some positive camera at the moment because the back end is jacked up and the wheel is off the ground. But it does stick out quite a bit, this little fat wheel, doesn't it? And if we look at it from the side, that wheel is not centered in the wheel arch at all. But I knew that from the beginning. I actually did want to have the wheelbase a little bit longer than what the original car had, this little yellow one. So I'm cool with that. We're going to be doing some surgery here anyway, so it's no issue, we'll sort it out. Okay, and then up here in the front, that section there is catching against this Beetle suspension in there. Wait a minute, shine a light in there, then you can see. Touching there. And that's why this section here is not sitting flush. So I'm going to have to cut this off and modify it a little bit so it can just move in a little bit. But that's no big deal, we'll figure it out. And then we'll paint that section in there matte black, and we will take that original little Renault air intake grill and fit it like that. This was actually the air intake for the original little Renault engine that was sitting in the back there. It required this air intake to get air to the radiator. And in our case, it will just assist to get some cool air to our Beetle engine, so it was still going to work quite nicely. And I think once this is all fitted, it will be quite a cool feature. I love it. So I think I'm going to start by cutting out the section something like that. My marker is struggling, it's all the dust here. Yeah, something like this. And let's just finish our proposed cut line here on the back side. And I'm going a bit wonky here now. But yeah, something to that effect. I think I need to take the wheel out here. And then I can cut this. And then we can stick it back to see what we have. Let's get this hubcap off with my special hubcap popping tool that I made earlier. Goes into that Renault and pops your uncle. Luckily, if you use old beat up hubcaps, you're not stressed if it drops onto the ground like that. Now, who doesn't love an aga gun for taking off wheels? I have bad luck with these quick couplers. I mean, this one is not that old and it's already leaking. Maybe I do something wrong, I don't know. I'm gonna have to replace this one. So let's try one of the new 9 Rand 50 US cent cutting discs I got to see how they go. Yeah, it's not any worse than any of the other brands I've tried. So for that price, I'm happy. So I put the wheel back so I can see how much clearance I would need. So we're still jacked up and I want to lower the back end now down to ride height and then see if we need more clearance here. But I'm already seeing a problem right here, so I think I'm just going to do a sort of a preliminary. I always stumble with that word. A preliminary cut. Something like that. Just to give me that initial clearance before I lower the back end, which is still sitting on the jack. I don't think I'm going to take the tire off again. I think I'm just going to try and carefully cut this as it is. Okay, so let's lower the jack and see what we get. How's that? Okay, we can go down a little bit more. It's not touching yet. Right, so we are now just touching here, but I think we're also pretty much where we want to be. So we're sitting at around the 0 camber mark here. And the fender is touching the tire, so we would need some more clearance to allow for suspension travel. So I think I'm just going to cut it back a little bit more. You can always fine tune it later. But it definitely does need more than what it's got at the moment. Yeah, I'm not saying this is my final cut, but let's feel our way along and then see what we need. So I think I'm going to jack it back up, cut this piece off, and then we try again. Okay, it's a little bit wobbly looking, but that doesn't matter. It's not my final cut. Let's drop it down again and see what we get. How's that looking? Well, I reckon we're sitting at about my desired ride height now, just a touch of negative camber. So any further clearance now that we need would just be for suspension travel. So we're getting there. Yes, if you compare it to the front wheel there, just a touch of negative camber, that's what I want. So this is my designed and desired ride height. So this little PC needs to sit here somewhere. Something to that effect. Then we'll connect it to the existing fender with some metal, and then we can cut back that section inside there afterwards. So I don't know if you can see, but it does open up towards the ends a little bit. So I might want to just tweak it a little bit and move the ends in. Yeah, let's see. Here's the plan if you look at it from this angle. So that PC is going to sit something like this. Then we'll fill it in with metal, probably at a bit of an angle, like that. And once we've done that, you can take the fender off and cut that remaining piece out. So this wheel arch section that I've cut out is quite floppy. So I'm going to fit this piece of 1/4 inch 6mm round bar into that rolled over section there to stiffen it up. I did exactly the same thing with the front fenders. And my 62-year-old knee still works well enough to shape this piece of round bar into a curve. So I'm just going to mess with it a little bit and try and match that fender arch piece. Reckon a bit more, eh? Let's go see. Yeah, that's good enough, eh? For a start, anyway. So I'm just going to fold this existing lip over to encase that piece of round bar. Got the story clamped in my vise. Now I can roll over this edge all the way. Yes man, now it's nice and strong, and this edge is much friendlier as well. I like it. Oh, and that's a new addition. What is this nonsense then? Yeah, so this tomfoolery right here is a direct result of my frustration and boredom during the weeks of recovering from my surgery. I got so sick and tired of staring at screens and reading books, and the urge of just making something and creating something became so much that I asked my wife to bring me a box of leather offcuts and some needles and thread. I suppose a shrink would say it's got something to do with childhood fantasies of Vikings. But I just don't care anymore. I have a new motto now. And that is spelled D-I-L-L-I-G-A-F, Telegraph. And it means, do I look like I give a fuck? Telegraph, pow, 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 pow. Am I being direct enough? Telegraph, pow, 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 pow. My apologies to Kevin Bloody Watson. My OG Australian mates will know exactly who he is. But yeah, go check him out. Old school comedian from some time ago. It's a new day here in Ruiterbos, and a freaking cold one at that. Ruiterbos is the name of the area that I live in, and if I translate it from the Afrikaans word, it would mean horse riders, bush, more specifically like a woody area or a foresty area, so riders, forest, or something like that. Yes, you boys in the northern hemisphere are complaining about the heat. But us guys down here in the southern half of the planet, for us it's the middle of winter. And my shop is not climate controlled or heated or anything. There's holes everywhere. So it's freaking cold in here. And I still have to finish my oil burner, man. Another project that got delayed for reasons that we all know. And I've since discovered it's been raining and my flue is leaking. So I need to sort that out as well. I really must make a plan to get to this, so I can heat up this place a little bit. So in the meantime, I've already tacked on a bit of scrap here, just to provide me with a departure point for holding this fender piece into place, so that I can determine how I want it to sit. I think I'm just going to put this wooden block in here. Provide me with a point to rest it on as well. Now I can clamp this piece on here, and then we can evaluate and see exactly how we want it to be, and then take it from there. Well, I tell you, I don't know how many times I've now walked in between the vise and this car to get the curve in this piece of round bar just right. Same deal up here in the front, bending it in the vise, walking back to the car to try it, to and fro, to and fro. But I think I've got it now. So if I sit here on my haunches, it looks to be about right. That fender curve all around the tire seems to be about equal all the way. And then I've got these little radiuses tying into the existing fender. So I think we're okay. And if I look at it from here, that angle that it slants out, it seems to be about the same as what we have in the front here. More evaluation before we start tying things together. Looking at it here from the back, yeah, it's looking good to me. Okay, and then when all is said and done, the plate that will fill in this space here will sit something like this. Now I've got about 75 millimeters, 3 inches of space available on the inside of this fender arch to allow for suspension travel. So we want to be practical as well, and I think that'll be enough. If I do ever want to change my ride height a little bit and lower it some more, a tad, add a touch more negative camber, it'll allow me to do that as well. So if we take a look in here on the other side, the way the car is sitting at the moment with just a touch of negative camber, we're just clearing the existing rubber stop, the original one. This distance between there and there is also around 3 inches. So yeah, we're gonna have modify this, cut it shorter, take it off, maybe just put in a bit of rubber there. We'll see. So my 3 inches is safe. By the time this bottoms, we will not touch on the fender arch. And a quick look here at the rear swing plate. You can see the stop is there. We've got that gap there. So we've still got some room for suspension travel. And I don't think we will bottom out here before we bottom out on the rubber. So yeah, we're good. So if you want to split hairs, I suppose you could lower that a little bit more to get more of a tucked in look. But the way it is now, it's matching the front. So I think I'm going to roll with it the way it is. Okay, time to glue on some temporary braces then. Okay, so that's not going to go anywhere. I can take off my wooden block and take off my clamps. Don't need this anymore. Right, nice and sturdy. Okay, so now I'm first going to edge this here with this piece of 8mm round bar. What is 8mm in imperial? 5/16, yes. Yeah, this is going to help me to smooth out this wobbliness, and it will also ensure that I get a nice curve in the end. So let's go and bend this. I'm going to use the old knee again. It's a good bending tool, this one. Just got to get this curve to match now. A little bit more on this side, I think. Yeah, getting there. So I'm using my special little clamps to hold that round bar for me and to line it up nicely with the edge there. Let me see if I can show you exactly how they work. So I've got another one of my little clamps set up here in a vise with some off-cut pieces. There's the piece of round bar. That there is the sheet metal. But I'm not exactly sure that it explains how it works. So I think I'm going to make a drawing. So this is what we have. There is your round bar, there's your sheet metal, and there's the clamp that you make. I make this from a piece of 1/4 inch 6mm flat bar. Whatever you have and can find. You drill a hole the same size or diameter as your round bar, then you cut it to the shape as you see, slot it like this. Up here, this is the little piece of flat bar welded on 90 degrees to the clamp you've made. And now you can clamp your contraption to the sheet metal to hold things in place. If you tap it from here with a little hammer, it will move the round bar until it touches nicely against your sheet metal, and this is going to ensure that everything lines up and you'll get consistent results when you edge your sheet metal with the round bar. Yes, I don't want to hurt your eyes and show the actual welding from this close up, but basically I'm now just making little tacks and working my way along. And using my little trick clamps, I ensure that, so we call it the stick out of the round bar in relation to the edge of the sheet metal is consistent all the way through. So I'm just going to continue working my way along to both ends and then we'll take it from there. Okay, I've got my round bar tacked on all the way. And now I've actually created quite a strong little structure here. So next up, I need to start thinking about creating a template for filling in right here with sheet metal. So I reckon this stiff piece of cardboard is going to be just a ticket. So I need to now mess with this and snip and test until it fits just the way I want it. Let's make a start. Right, so I'm just going to mess around with this a little bit and then we see where I end up. Okay, so snip and check and then snip a little bit more and check it again. I guess it's kind of a balance between messing with it until you're happy with it and messing with it until you are sick of it. But I think I've got a template established now. So I'm going to take this off carefully now. And then I can go and cut it out from a piece of sheet metal. If I can get my picking tape undone. Okay, carefully. Right. Let's go and see. Yes, so if you make up this type of template, another way to tell whether you're on track is to look at the curve that you've established. It must always be like a nice smoothly flowing curve. I suppose it does take a bit of eye practice. But yeah, if you see any bad wobbles or not a smoothly flowing line, then something is wrong. So it looks to me like we're on target. Unfortunately, my material is not quite long enough. I've got a little bit of my template overhanging here. Hey, but luckily we got a welder, so we can just add on a little piece. This is the outer edge, and I've cut that a little bit oversized. So we'll do the final scribing of this line where it meets that piece of round bar once we've got this in place and we can test it. Right, so let's mark it out so we can start cutting. And then when you do mark things like this with a Sharpie or a Koki or whatever you want to call this marker, I mean it does make a kind of a wideish line, if I can put it to it like that. Then it's important to cut it on the right side of that marked line if you really want to be accurate. So I'm going to cut this with my grinder. I feel if you drive carefully, it gives the most accurate results. Okay, so I cleaned up the edges just a little bit with the flap disc, bent it some across the good old knee. So let's see how it's going to fit. I reckon I'm probably going to have to fiddle around with it quite a bit. But let's find out. Get some clamps on it. And then take it from there. Well, that's actually a pretty good fit for a first test run. I'm impressed with myself. Yeah, if it wasn't for the paint here, I could tack it on. Oh no, I still got to trim this edge as well. So I'm going to have to take it off one more time, at least, to clean up the paint here. And then of course I need to scribe it here and cut it. So let me just pop it off so I can clean up the paint. Oh, and in case you're wondering what's going on here, I've got the car jacked up again to get my clamps in. That's why we've got all of this clearance here at the moment. Right. I tell you man, these face-off discs are just the best thing for removing rust and paint. Right, my second last fitting, and it's looking good. I'm happy. Just a little tip: if you have to do multiple fittings of a piece similar to this, always a good idea to create yourself a reference line. Then you know you can have it going back exactly the same way when you remove it, put it back on. So now I'm just going to scribe here, then I can take it off to trim off this overhang. And then we can do the final fitment and weld it. Well, I hope this is my final cut and trim. But yeah, spending some time on accurate fitment is worth it, because it just makes the final welding so much easier and better. Final fit. And I can start to get some tacks into place. Whoopee! Right, I got it all tacked together now, and I very successfully managed to burn some holes as well. But look at this. This is a piece that I cut out of the Fender, and the thickness of this piece measures about 0.7 millimeters only. I mean, what the hell? Yeah, so the thickness of the tin on this Renault is only 0.7 millimeters. No wonder I struggled, man. I tell you, those Frenchies were a bunch of cheapskates. I'm going to have to be really careful when I weld this thing together. So I'm slowly working my way along here, basically just doing little tacks that blends into the previous one. 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. Sort of working my way from the center towards the ends. Yeah, I'm taking it slow and careful with the thin stuff. So after each series of tacks, if I can call it that, I'm letting it cool down first before I do the next series. Yeah, I want to keep warpage to a minimal when the stuff is so thin. Well, you've missed my struggles with this ridiculously thin French tin. I mean 0.7 millimeters. That's like 22 gauge for my imperially inclined friends. I don't think I've ever welded some such paper thin material. But it's done, and it does look rather horrible. Luckily, I've got a good selection of these, and I've had lots of practice with them. So to grind my fillet welds, if I can call it that, I first use a grinding disc on edge, and then I just carefully grind the high spots off, the worst of it. And then I use a fresh flap disc to sand and blend that fillet radius in. So I work it a little bit this way and the other way to blend it in as best I can. So I'm trying to show you what it looks like when you get done, but the light's playing some tricks here. So I'm just shining another light here to try and show you. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's not perfect, but good enough in my books. If you were chasing this glass-like perfect finish, it won't take much filler to get that. So okay, most of my grinding is done. I still got to sort out some welding down there. Where's my finger? You can see it's a bit of a mess there. But I need to take this fender off anyway, because I need to cut out those braces and trim it back in the end. So I'm going to do all that when it's on the table. It will just be easier. So let's take the fender off again. Well, I need to take the wheel off to get the fender off. So it's a sequence of events. So now that I have the fender here on my bench, you can see the bracing that I still have to remove. And then I've got to cut back this overlapping section in here from the original fender. So I could see that well penetration line, so I just carefully cut right next to it. Just going to clean this up a little bit and then we're done. Not going to worry grinding it too much. so we can retain the strength of the weld. Right, that's good enough for me. It's just the inside, where nobody will ever see anyway. So let's go and stick it on the car to see what it looks like. And there we have it, man. Widey wide in the rear to go with widey in the front here. Well, I don't know what you think, but I reckon it turned out pretty cool. I'm happy. There's only one problem. This one is still outstanding. And with 3 of them behind the belt, I'm not exactly looking forward to it. But you know, in this game, if you don't have persistence, you'll never get anywhere. So I'm just going to have to get my head down and do it. I see I've got some crunchies here. I'm just going to have to fix that a little bit first. I see there's a bit of welding here. So somebody's already tried to do a patch job in the past. I'm going to see if I can get it a little bit better. A little bit of welding and a little bit of grinding, and it's moved from crunchy to only slightly crappy. But you know what? It sits in a spot where you can't even see it. So that's also a good excuse, isn't it? So before I stick this Fender on here, I'm just going to run a tap through these old rusty nuts here. It'll just make my life a lot easier. Okay, well, this Fender is fitted, so now I must just repeat what I did on the other side. Yeah, let's do it. Yes, man, now this little French lady has got some sexy hips. Okay, well, not 100% French anymore. She's got some Germanic genes in her as well now. Quite a lot, actually. Beetle floor pan, Beetle running gear, and we're still gonna stick a Beetle engine in there as well, eh? So, as we would say here in South Africa, lekker boet, which is slang here for cool bro, cool brother, nice brother. Well, that's what I think anyway. Yes, I like it. I got that original Renault air intake grill back into place as well, and I think it looks really cool. Okay then, let's give it a jumpy test. See if it will touch. Hoppa, 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 hoppa. Look, Ma, no touching whatsoever. Let's see up front here. My ass is actually too skinny for this experiment, but let's give it a go anyway. Hup, 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 But I think we'll be all right up front as well. Hey, listen, you oaks, thank you so much for all the support and likes and comments and subscriptions and all that good stuff. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, it means much to me. Helps to keep me going and helps to keep me motivated. Anyway, I think I have now deserved my scan, eh? For those of you who don't know yet, SCAN is an acronym or abbreviation for Senior Citizen Afternoon Nap, which I'm going to partake in right now. So I will see you guys in the next video when we carry on with a little Renault bug. Until then, have a lucky one, my brothers.
Whatever makes you happy, it just depends on you. So think a little bigger and dream.